Welcome to session 16 of Through the Bible in 90 Days. Today we will look at 3 takeaways from Joshua chapter 1, verse 1 through Joshua chapter 14, verse 15. How God calls his people to trust him fully and step out in faith with strength and courage. How God promises are sure and we are called to act on them with faith and obedience. How God's covenant faithfulness calls his people to be obedient in every area of life. I'm Dr. J. David Taylor. Let's get started. Takeaway 1, God calls his people to trust him fully and step out in faith with strength and courage. In Joshua chapter 1, verses 1 to 9, God commissions Joshua to lead the Israelites into the promised land, urging him to be strong, courageous, and obedient to his word. Now, God promises his presence and guidance, assuring Joshua that he will not leave him or forsake him. For the Israelites, this was a call to action. No longer would they be wander in the wilderness, but they were to now take possession of the land that God had promised them. Similarly, for believers today, God calls us to walk in faith, relying on his strength and his guidance. When we step out in faith, we can be assured that God will be with us every step of the way. In Joshua chapter 1, verse 9, it says, "Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest." In Joshua chapter 1, verse 7, KJV, it says just this: "Only be thou strong and very courageous, for that thou mayest observe to do according to all which Moses my servant commanded thee." Takeaway 2, God promises are sure, and we are called to act on them with faith and obedience. Now, in Joshua chapter 1, verses 10 to 18, the Israelites prepare to enter the land of Canaan, trusting in the promises God made to their ancestors. They remember the covenant promises to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and now they are called to take action and claim the land. See, this passage reminds us that God's promises are not just words to be admired, but truths to be active on, and they require action on our part. See, for believers today, we are called to remember God's promises, to trust them, and then to take steps of faith, believing that he will fulfill what he has spoken. In Joshua chapter 1, verse 16, KJV, it says just this: "And they answered Joshua, saying, All that thou commandest us, we will do, and whithersoever thou sendest us, we will go." And in Joshua chapter 1, verse 17, KJV, it says, "According as we hearken unto Moses in all things, so will we hearken unto thee. Only the Lord thy God be with thee, as he was with Moses." Takeaway 3, God's covenant faithfulness calls his people to be obedient in every area of life. In Joshua chapter 2, verses 1 to 24, the story of Rahab's faith and her protection of the Israelite spies highlight the importance of responding in faith to God's promises. Now, Rahab, a Gentile woman, aligns herself with God's people and demonstrates great courage and faith by hiding the spies. This narrative underscores that God's faithfulness extends beyond Israel, and anyone who aligns themselves with God in faith will experience God's mercy and protection. Now, similarly, as believers today, we are called to live in alignment with God's purpose, no other purpose, walking in obedience to his word, knowing that his faithfulness covers all who trust in him. Joshua 2:9, KJV says this: "And she said unto the men, I know that the Lord has given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us." Wow. Joshua 2:21, "And she bound the scarlet line in the window." Have you ever felt like the task ahead for you is too great? Have you ever felt that the challenge is too difficult? Have you ever felt like the obstacles are too overwhelming? Well, let me tell you something. Joshua faced this same very dilemma. After the death of Moses, God called Joshua to lead the Israelites into the promised land, a task that required courage, faith and a super deep dependence on God. But God didn't leave him alone in this mission, my friend. God promised to be with Joshua, just as he had been with Moses, and to give him victory. Today, God is calling you to step into the promises he has for you. He has equipped you, and he promises to be with you every step of the way. Here's the challenge that we face. Too often we let fear and doubt hold us back from stepping into the promises that God has made to us. Like the Israelites at the edge of the promised land, we sometimes see the giants in the land and shrink back. But the real issue isn't the obstacle. The real issue is whether we trust God to fulfill his promises. The key to living in the fullness of God's promises is not only trusting in his ability, but also acting in obedience to his call, no matter how daunting it may seem. What if we stop seeing challenges as obstacles and begin to view challenges as opportunities for God to show his power? What if instead of being paralyzed by fear, we stepped out in faith, trusting that God would fight for us as he did for Israel? God didn't promise the Israelites a land free from conflict. He promised them victory if they were faithful and obedient. In the same way, God's promises to us do not exempt us from difficulty, but they assure us of his faithfulness to see us through. Will you, my friend, step into your promised land with faith, believing that God is with you and will never leave you? This is the moment to take action. Will you trust God with what he has promised? Will you step out in courage, knowing that God's presence goes with you? Just as God called Joshua to leave, he has called you to a purpose. You might not see the full picture, my friend, but you can trust that God has a plan. When you trust God and obey his word, he will provide all that you need to accomplish his will. All that you need to accomplish his will. It's time to take the first step, just as the Israelites did when they crossed the Jordan River. The land is before you, my friend. Step into it with faith and courage. I challenge you today. Will you embrace the promises that God has made to you? Will you be strong and courageous, knowing that he is with you every step of the way? Don't let fear keep you from stepping into the fullness of what God has for you. Take the first step, knowing that God is faithful to fulfill his promises. Your future is in his hand. Live with confidence, knowing that God will lead you into all he has prepared for you. Will you trust him? Will you obey him? Will you walk in the blessings he has set before you? I have 3 declarations personally of my own willingness to align with God's divine will. I declare that I will trust in God's promises, knowing that he will be with me and guide me through every challenge. I declare that I will walk in obedience to God's call, stepping into the fullness of his promises with courage and faith. I declare that I will remember God's faithfulness, teaching the next generation to trust and obey him as we all step into the future that he has for us. My time is up, my friend. I'm Dr. J. David Taylor, and I will see you next time.